I forgot about this, and it's so worth it that I'm going to do it.
All right. Well, we're recording again.
I'm
And
sorry.
now I'm nervous.
I know. Yes. And now everyone's looking at the video, going, "How in the fuck can this asshole have more?" Okay, listen. So, in an effort to actually, because I'm dead serious about this, if everybody really understands about how to poison a pool of information, you could do it. You could poison a pool of information with advertising, as long as you could ruin the game. If you ruin once everybody knows what Bernie Madoff is up to, the game is over, right?
Right.
So my goal here is functionally to wipe out the lawyers, because we don't actually need them. We don't need lawyers. We don't need politicians, right? So here's how you do it. Anyone who wants to help advertise this idea, go to, oh shit, I will put a link before you get your video. I will put a link to my book. I will get a PDF. I've been bitched at because I didn't have a PDF. I will put a PDF of my book. You go take the PDF. You change the name to your name, your fucking author name. You go change the book to your cryptocurrency addresses. That's why IP is bullshit. If you can actually market this thing better than me, then you get the money. But then again, you have to know what to do with it when you get it, and I have to go make software with it. So it's okay. But if anybody thinks they can market this better than me, I wish you the best of luck. Put your name on my book, change it out to your cryptocurrency addresses, and go and market the shit out of it. Because actually changing the system isn't about me making money. It's about everybody understanding how to change the system. So everybody who wants to do this and you think you're going to get sued, it was a public domain work intentionally on purpose, and I'm giving it away and telling you to steal it. Copy and paste your own name in there and pretend it's your own. I don't give a shit. Just get the word out. That's the literally. It's if we could do this now, the fun part is actually going to be doing it. It's not going to be talking about it. It's going to be doing it. So pass it around to your friends. And it's not stealing a book. It's proper advertising of an idea. And I'm inept at marketing, so I'm going to lose because I suck at marketing. Okay?
So, Rollo, how's it feel to be an author?
It's great. It's pretty exciting. Can't wait.
I definitely have a different take on the author thing. I have to actively subvert any money I could make to actually make it work. I have to actively subvert the whole price mechanism. So I'm just going to do it, and it's okay. And at this point, it's really more entertaining to watch Flintstones get sad and then get happy.
Right.
First, they get real sad because you took away their politics, and then they get real happy because they don't have to carry it around anymore. So as fast as this can get going, I don't give it. And this, I wish I said this to the other podcasts. I really did. So I'm going to put I'm going to put a PDF and a note underneath yours where anybody, it'll be the steal this PDF. That's what's going to be there. So I forgot to say it the last time.
Cool. Well, we'll if you have the PDF, we'll link it on our show notes, and we'll try to spread the word.
Okay, I have to go find it, but thanks for having me, and steal this book and go and try. Listen, if you can make money on this, if you can somehow advertise this faster than me, you're going to make more money in your cryptocurrency addresses than I will. Okay, I'm still going to make software when I get money, but I'm at the pace of funding that I can afford, which is an author giving away a free book. So at that pace, I'm going functionally nowhere with it except advertising. So anybody who can make this all happen faster, I would rather just be a smiling Jetson.
Sounds good. Yeah, you win in the end anyway.
Exactly. Mutually assured, or what do they call it? Like level 4 exchange, where everybody's winning and then everybody's getting paid and everybody's winning and everybody's learning. That's the whole goal. Level 4 exchange. Kick it out and let everybody learn from it.
Awesome. Hello and welcome to episode 157 of the Rollo and Slappy Show. Today is August 12th, 2019. I am Rollo McFlugel, and with me is Slappy Jones 2, and we are both from McFlugel.com. You probably already kind of know what this episode is going to be about, since we kind of gave a little teaser on the front end of it, something a little bit different than what we normally do. But the show notes page for this episode will be McFlugel.com/157. where you'll be able to find links to the things we talked about, although I'm not sure that Donnie has that link set up yet. But just go out and harass him, and I'm sure he'll get it to you through the links on the show notes page. So also on the show notes page, check out libertymugs.com. We're going to be adding some new stuff there. We just added stickers, so check that out. And all right, Slappy, you seem to be chomping at the bit. So
no, I was going to say, if you want to report Rollo for targeted harassment, get on it.
What did I do?
You suggested everyone go harass Donnie.
Oh yeah, I did.
So I believe that does violate some kind of standards.
Well, we're not on Twitter, so we're on our own website.
Oh.
So we do what we want.
Report them to me.
Yes. Or to me.
We recorded this last week. When was it? Wednesday? A couple days ago?
Yep.
I don't know. So it was a good interview. I think you'll like it. You may have heard Donnie on Bob Murphy's show or Pete Raymond's.
Yep, twice. He was just on again.
He was there, and he was just on there again. That was a good one. I actually listened to that this morning.
Yep.
So he's an interesting guy. I think you're going to be hearing more about him. And go check out his book and spread the word about it. I downloaded it. I haven't read it yet, but I did download it. So I'm going to check it out.
And don't worry, Slappy is not... Slappy's not at home right now, so we're getting a little bit of ambient noise, but that won't be there in the episode. So
cool. I'm down the seashore.
All right, so without any further delay, as Pete Raymond would say, here's Donnie.
Donnie Gebert is a former U.S. Army intelligence sergeant, ammunition supply specialist, infantryman, and U.S. Navy electronics technician. He was medically discharged from the Army after 17 years of active service and now lives with his wife and 3 children in Texas. Welcome to the Rollo and Slappy Show, Donnie.
Slappy. Hello, Rollo.
How you doing?
Thanks for joining us. So Donnie is an author, wrote a book about how we can decentralize our legislator, our government. We can opt in. We can be our own representative. So that's very interesting to people like Rollo and I. We often talk about how government is obsolete and how technology can replace it. And you may have an answer for that. So could you explain it a little bit, just exactly what you mean by be your own representative and how that could work?
Okay, let me start with something probably everybody heard of, and that was Libra. So,
Facebook currency?
Right. So this Facebook currency is really a thing because it's comprised of a bunch of fiat currencies. So it's not like this huge challenge to the dollar. However, and the dollar is one of the currencies in the basket. So it's not really a challenge to the dollar. But what it really does represent is this way where you could hyperinflate one of those currencies in that basket, and Libra would overall be able to hedge you against that inflation. So you would have the ability, many people across the globe would have the ability to hedge their losses by jumping in and out of whatever currency they're in Libra. When Obama was president, he signed over the global control of the internet. Used to be in the U.S. and now it's in Switzerland or Sweden, and Libra is also out of Switzerland or Sweden. I forget. It's the same country. The point I'm getting at is, if the United States, many countries are kind of abandoning the dollar now. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to start seeing a fiat problem, that fiat problem will hit the dollar, the yen, and the euro, and there's another one in that basket, but I can't think of it right now. And Facebook is under no laws from Congress when Libra is out of Europe, and nothing can be stopped. So if they wanted to just start accepting fiat currencies across the globe into Libra could challenge the dollar, even though it's denominated in a dollar. But then, never mind Libra, if you have anything, Bitcoin functions very much as a challenge to the dollar, whether people recognize that or not. Is the Bitcoin system going to do that? No. There's a lot of maximalists who talk a lot about it. But because these currency structures on the planet can be messed with, you have to realize that the government has only been able to stay alive this long because of currency manipulation. Straight up, they print the dollar, they control the interest rate, Then they pretend they don't print a bunch of money to backfill the budgets off the books, and then they make laws that say we can propagandize the public in an emergency situation, and everything to these people is an emergency. So almost everything is a lie. So everybody's abandoning the dollar. Nobody really trusts the government, and now there's these just uncontrolled by a U.S. court or a U.S. friendly court. These mechanics are existing in our world now where the dollar is going to get challenged, not in our lifetime, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. Worst case, I mean, when I say 5 years, I'm thinking closer to the end of 2020. Like, I think we're going to start seeing ugly things in the market. Julian Assange's stuff hasn't come out yet. So he's living in an embassy for years. All of a sudden, he gets snatched up. Okay, now we're about 2.5, 3 months from that. His drops, they got to be coming out really soon. So that's what I'm thinking, right? All of a sudden, the Obamas are distancing themselves from Hillary Clinton. And that was one of the Assange said, if I have information that sends Hillary to jail when they snatch me out. So all of a sudden this starts happening, but nobody's asking about Assange. Nobody's saying anything about Assange. Never mind. We move on to Jeffrey Epstein, who's right next door to Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. And that whole shit show is a dumpster fire that everybody gets to watch. And then they take away the information. They give you a little more. They take away the information. They give you a little more. The judge isn't going to release it. He's going to release it. He's not going to release it. You know what I mean? It's this back and forth game. Stock market taking a dump because now we're involved in a trade war with currency. It's a currency war. It's a fiat currency war. How many of these things have to go before somebody? Oh, and yes, we're still challenging the dollar in all of this. We're still challenging the dollar, and the FBI is a shit show. Yes, and the CIA is a shit show, right? How many of these events have to go on at the same time before all of us realize something's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen, but the CIA was supposed to be watching Russia, and then the wall fell down, and they were like, oh, yeah. They had one job. Like, they had one job, and they didn't see it coming. And I got a strange feeling we're all staring at the next very interesting wall coming down. It looks like the banking finance wall. And I think it looks very much like it. Hey, you correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just throwing this out there. It's not looking good for the dollar.
It's interesting. In my kind of industry, we talk about layers of protection a lot of times, and for something to go wrong, you have to have the planets kind of align. You can imagine a Swiss cheese model. You got slices of Swiss cheese. For something to go completely wrong, it's got to find a path through all the holes in the cheese. And like you're saying, with all these things individually, they might not do anything, but when they all happen together.
Right. So we have these technologically known, not debatable, known threats to the dollar, just new technology springing into existence. Then we have all of the corruption at the same time and all of that going sideways. How do you think a legal system is going to react to this? Because when Russia came down, it came down, and they put stuff up because they didn't have tech when that happened. So a failed government looks like the suffering of a lot of people and the executions of a lot of people, and whatever you found post-wall, when the wall came down. Well, if America was to suffer a bankruptcy, what is that going to look like? A bunch of federal services would stop. Is this going to starve a bunch of people? Hopefully not. So you're kind of looking for a system that says, we already recognize the current system is a shit show. We recognize that. It's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. It's not a libertarian thing. It's this system is insanity. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense, but it does have to be paid for. So when the rest of the world kind of got, the rest of the world has the option to kick the dollar to the curb. We're all kind of stuck with it. Okay. I think the currency is now what's going to be shook. And when that happens, whether we'd all like to sit around and contemplate it a lot, like, oh, this can't happen, the federal government will go bankrupt. That will happen. And Donald Trump is a bankruptcy guy, so I'm starting to think his presence there is a little...
That's his game, right? Declare bankruptcy.
So, and not in any self-serving way, but I'm starting to see a lot of things. Since I dumped this on, I've seen things pop up. John McAfee's campaign is like nobody 2020, and he's basically encouraging everyone to tell the system to take a hike. Idaho just canceled their regulatory state. Like they have it set up where they had to renew it every year, and Idaho just like threw that out the window. I'm hearing Spain has not had a really functioning government for the better part of the year now, and they're settling their stuff a different way. So, and I was fairly vocal about this for a little while, at least to the people that mattered. Like there was the guys at Lieberland. I was talking to them back in 2017,
Cool.
and some other places that were just along this heading. So it didn't sound too crazy to anybody in the looking for these kinds of things. That was okay. But to everybody else, it sounds weird. Well, now everybody's going, like it or not, you don't have to like Donnie. Don't shoot the messenger. Shoot the messenger. It won't change the message. I can't afford a decent ad campaign. If somebody shoots me, I guarantee I'm going to get some press. So I guarantee it. So if you shoot me, I'm going to get a really good ad campaign out of this. And all it boils down to is, what does the system look like if you were to have to do it yourself? And what you really find out is that you're an ignorant ass voter, like I was. You're showing up at the ballot box and you're thinking, ballot box good, options good. I have the agency to choose which ones I want. It's going to be somewhat honest. And now further and further we go on, we simply find out that every single process of this is something that probably worked, pre-electricity, but has been functionally coming apart post-electricity. And now we're seeing technology that it's the kind of technology that says, if you've been asleep until now, fine, no more. Now the currency is going to change because Libra or something else. So we're going to live in that time, and it's next 10 years. Take a deep breath. It's not bad. It's just understanding what we're doing. And honestly, I find most people's objections to what I've been saying is, we don't understand how to be our own senator. Okay, fair enough. But beyond that, it's better for you to be your own senator. So
sure. But even to that, I mean, I don't know how to make my own clothes. I don't know how to, repair my air conditioner when it breaks. What's the difference between that and the other services that get provided?
To be honest, nothing except intellectual property. It's intellectual property. I actually heard somebody describe it really well. The guy says, you're charging me $100 to do this in 30 minutes. He's like, no, you're charging me $100. I'm charging you $100 because it took me 12 years to figure out how to do this in 30 minutes. So now I get to do 10 of these a day and really efficiently, and it's my job. You couldn't do this if it took you all day. So the guy kind of got the idea. Right now, to be just a civilized, decent human being under the current laws, you have to be a lawyer. The manner in which the system functions, it truly abuses people. It abuses people who can't read well. It abuses people who try to vote and think they're doing it properly. It abuses people who, I don't like getting too much into the voting arguments, but you can't have everyone voting in a U.S. election. I'm not trying to keep, immigration is an entirely separate debate from voting. But if you're going to have a voting system, you cannot let the entire world participate. It's stupid. Anyone who, they just don't understand. They don't understand 8th grade civics, and that voting would never function if you let the 7 billion people of Earth decide what happened to America. Maybe we're deserving at one point, but most of us are all just growing up here. We're figuring out the horseshit that we were fed when we were kids.
Yep.
And it all doesn't function. So I don't, a lot of people make these cases for why this and why that. It doesn't matter. None of those people know how when you ask them. So they think they know why, but they don't know how. When you actually take all the time and you find out how these systems work, why never matters. Every enterprise has enterprise environment factors. So right off the bat, if your budget says we have to make a solution for $25,000 because no one's coming to help us and this is the end of the budget, then you will do one of two things. You will solve that for $25,000 or less, or you will fail. Fine. But if you have a printing press in the background somehow subsidizing your success, it's not success when you can't functionally build something for 40 years and you print every time you think the schematic needs a slight adjustment. No, none of this. This didn't even function super good a long time ago. So all of the younger generations pretending that Thomas Jefferson's will be done, no, no. And I'm a constitutionalist, but no, it's a dumb line of reasoning. Like, I would think less of a constitutionalist taking this to a progressive, trying to spread the good news of, yes, individual rights. It's not that we're against progressives. It's that you collectivize things and it removes people's agency. And now they are de facto victims to your ethics. So they don't really kind of understand those dialectics because they don't mean them that way. These people are so soft, they won't use hard language. So when you accuse them of saying, listen, you're actually describing harming people brutally. Oh, no, that's not my intention. Well, it's hard to tell your intentions when that's how it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people don't understand how the systems function, but they are being forced to pay for them. Mm-hmm. So I'm not, there's no wrong people here. I would love to sit, the reason I kind of ended up in this is because I'm the worst person on earth, okay?
Well, congratulations.
So my unit was in Kosovo, and I was babysitting our skiff. I had a lot of time on my hands, so I was doing research. I was keeping myself busy, but I didn't really have much of a job title. And I went through every scenario, and when I say this, like I'm the weird guy. I am one of the weird intelligence analysts in the military. I know how to do a whole bunch of the strategy shit. I am a reference. People come into the room. They want to talk to me about that stuff. Okay, fine. I went through, and killing every single human on this earth won't work. Killing massive chunks of them won't work. Okay? As a matter of fact, the only thing you can really do is place a large physical barrier like an ocean between you and not civilized, and build civilization out to the point where it's so attractive that everybody wants to come to it. Guess where we're at right now? Okay? We have done that, and the least civilized thing that's left in America is the law. It's the thing that's kicking everybody's ass. All of the cops are aggressors. I shit you not, I don't normally bring stuff up. I had a gun pointed at me today. Today.
Wow.
Oh, what's it? It's 7 o'clock? Yeah, about 5. 5, I had some ignorant cop waving a gun in my face.
Wow.
So if you think my legal ideas are feral, wait till you wag a gun in my face. And the cop who thought he was in control of the situation got reminded he was a retard, and I screamed at him like it was day one basic training, and I don't know if he pissed himself, but he put his pistol away.
So it was successful.
He thought that pistol was going to put him in control of the situation, and I don't think he understands. I'll make him shoot me, and then all of the other humans will mob up on him. And I'm going to get my ad campaign. So I'm literally positively incentivized, mouth off. And honestly, man, this entire campaign, it's an individual voter campaign to mouth off to the system. You tell your legislature, you move. We actually know how to do this. Then you find out that they don't. But really, it's only about 4 hours of what is a social contract and why? Why are we going to sign it? Why is this 18 pages? It isn't, right? Now, I haven't put all this software together. There's no reason to put it all together. This idea is so new that me talking about it might get me shot. Okay? Some constitutionalist might take this all the wrong way and really want to put an end to me. Never mind the progressives.
Oh, it's a threat. A threat to their system.
No, they don't even know I'm a threat to their system. They would have to know what their system does to know that I'm a threat.
Good
point. The constitutionalist is who actually knows what he's doing might get real angry with me. So it's not about anti-constitution. Article 1, Section 8 is Marxism. Just because Marx wasn't born doesn't mean that is not perfect doctrine of Marxism to have taxation. No one's allowed to say no. If you're not allowed to say no, that's it. I'm sorry. We could get into all the jots and tittles, but that's the part where it breaks. That is the part where sanity separates. Now you're saying we have to have things that we can't pay for. Well, we can't do that anyway. So however we're planning on stealing that or bullshitting people into it, it's not going to be right anyway. So we're better off of saying we're all a bunch of adults. We can assess our own situation instead of pretending that any of these politicians have a clue. And we're better off figuring it out. But a lot of that stuff happens locally. Local property rights are hard. National property rights are easy. Community systems are a little harder. National systems are easy. So getting rid of the federal government is easy, easy, easy. Getting rid of your state government depends a lot on what systems your state was running and how much money they were getting from the feds. Like, you got to remember, every state is a Fed money addict at this point. So they probably, I mean, all right, I'm not going to say that about everybody. Some governor will be giving me hate mail. I haven't gone through all of the 50
It's
budgets.
pretty much true.
Yeah.
Based on the current budget trajectories for the feds, you don't necessarily know where the money's going. It's definitely going somewhere. The states get a lot of subsidized money from the feds.
Mm-hmm.
So your state, I mean, if the feds have a problem, if there's a currency problem, you might have a state government problem anyway. Like, sorry, you're just in that part of Earth now, human. There is no Kansas anymore, Toto. Now, the state of Kansas is gone. What do all of the people currently sitting in the shape of Kansas, the organization formerly known as Kansas, what do they do? How do they slap that all together? Nothing but property deeds. Okay? And if you can imagine each individual human just on the Serengeti of humanity, you could put those property deeds up like like the Verizon subscriber map is one of the best ways to put it. So each person, after they do their I know my property rights class course, the social contract is I don't murder, I don't rape. When we're all saying, right, so there's this implied social contract, and it says you're not going to murder, you're not going to rape, and it's implied. I'm saying we're going to make it explicit. That way our legal system doesn't have to come up with a bunch of these protective rights that they claim we need. No, we don't. No, we don't need those rights. We need those rights if someone is inflicting us with law. We might need those rights to demonstrate that that law is garbage and to protect ourselves. But once we volunteer for certain things, we understand. Now, literally, like I said, the second layer of this is Andrew Napolitano is writing your criminal justice system. You're simply agreeing that based on this social contract that every one of us could go ahead and sign, that we're not going to murder, rape, steal. Very short, couple of pages, like 2 or 3 pages. It can't be any more. We're not trying to bundle bullshit together. I want every angry blue-haired feminist who thinks my very essence is a poison upon the planet to have the same agency in this thing as you two do, you poisonous motherfuckers. Okay? So as long as you guys get the same agency as her, she shouldn't freak out about losing her agency. We shouldn't worry about her inflicting us with shit. She shouldn't worry about us inflicting her with shit.
So how do you get it to be explicit? How do you get that contract to be signed? We're here right now. How do we get to that point?
So this is where voluntarism is real easy. It's real easy to sign up for stuff. So now literally, like I said, the software isn't up yet. This is literally, hello. I'm Sergeant Gebert. I've come all the way from the front of a war to tell you that the whole goddamn thing was a mistake. The whole thing, okay? Even if you thought it was going to work, it wasn't going to work. Even if you thought it was a good idea, it really wasn't a good idea. And even if you wanted to solve that problem, you shouldn't have tried to do it like that. So it's not really going to function. And the media machine is really what paints these bullshit ideas into people's head.
Mm-hmm.
The world isn't covered in racists. But when you turn it on and you find it on 6 channels, listen, Fox News is just as big a part of the problem because they'll report on what CNN reports on. So now we're taking the time of day to waste our time with racism. We're taking more time out of our day to do than Morgan Freeman does. Why? Why does anyone take more time out of their day to deal with racism than Morgan goddamn Freeman? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, what we always say is you just got to walk to the store to see that there's not a whole lot of racism out there. You know, walk around in your town and your community and you say hi to people and you open doors for people and there's no issues.
Right. So listen, if a mass shooting is a 1 in 100 million event, we have 3 every year and we have 4 on leap year. Shit, you not?
Yeah.
You're not. So now, over the course of a 4-year period, having a population so large, you could rationally expect 11 mass shootings.
Sure.
And let me tell you, so when you're trying to solve a problem, right, you put it into the 6 Sigma process. So you want to get all the muda out, and you want to get that to a very high level of fidelity. 1 in 100 million is way past Six Sigma.
Yeah.
Now, what is the solution that these idiots toss up on the table? Gun control. The
Right.
thing that leads to state-sanctioned mass graves. The exact mechanic. So these people aren't stupid, okay? The media is controlling the perception. They're pretending that gun control is a debate. It's not a debate. There's 300 million people here. There's more than 300 million guns.
Way more. Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah.
So, and the amount of people it would take to enforce the gun control on this
It's not
area
happening.
is approximately a billion.
Right.
You would need the entire China, not the Chinese army. You would need the Chinese population. Right. So every time these people bring up gun control as if it could ever even happen, okay, they're lying right to your face, and they're abusing the media platform to pretend that this is even a debate. It's not a debate. There aren't enough enforcers to come and try. And I'm not getting mouthy. I literally had a cop wave a gun in my face 5 hours ago, called him a retard, and told him to put it away. Okay? So when I tell you that the cops have no fucking chance, I mean when I'm unarmed and belted in, they don't have a chance. So when I decide Senior Intelligence Sergeant Gebert's going to go to work and we're going to figure out where they all live before we ever let them know we're coming, it's stupid. This is stupid. I want to put all of the civilians, I want to put everybody who thinks these are actual debates, I want to put your mind at ease. No fucking chance.
Now,
Those amateurs have no idea what they're doing. Absolutely not. I literally just told everybody how to do it. You find out where they live before they know they're coming. The end. That's exactly how the Vietnamese did it. The
I'm
Vietnamese
sure.
20,000 people in 48 hours. Because they found out where they lived and they went in and they wiped them out. So anybody who's worried about this shit in America, listen, please enjoy the entertainment that we have here. Don't believe in it.
So do
Okay.
you think the politicians who talk about gun control, do you think they believe it could work, or do you think it's just an emotional play to get
They
votes?
absolutely know that there are not enough. And if you line up all of the military people and all of the cops people on end, you don't get 8 million folk.
Right.
Then ask them all a question. Which one of yous are not going door to door, and see how many hands go up. And of the 8 million, you're going to have 5 million hands go up immediately. You're going to have another 1.5 million hands go up a second later because they don't want to be left out. Okay, see where this is going? There ain't enough to even try to make the people who you think are coming. There's not even enough people in those groups to stop the people in those groups. There's not enough gun confiscating cops to confiscate guns from the cops. There's not enough gun confiscating anybody to get it from the warriors / you want to call them soldiers, Marines, whatever. Zero fucking chance. As a matter of fact, if any of the cops think that this is ever going to work, we have them surrounded right now. They are completely contained by the warriors. They are all surrounded they have Motorola and we have cell phones. So like, this is dumb. The whole thing is dumb. We could talk about it as we could beat our chests and we could play Wolverines. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's never coming here. The population here is so docile. They do hold each other's door open.
Right.
Most of them don't want to carry a pistol. Some will because they recognize a need. And the ones who do can't be trusted because they all have qualified immunity. I'm telling you, I'm going to call some people around here. I want to get a group of guys together in Texas, and it's Texas. Like, if it doesn't work in Texas, it won't work anywhere.
True.
I'm certain we can get enough people trained to put the cops out of business, to put them completely out of business by people who will volunteer to do the same job without qualified immunity. We'll put their asses out of business. Oh man, I cannot give you. They third string participation trophy. That job is not about protecting yourself. And every single solitary time I hear about these people walking around claiming they're protecting their neighborhood with ARs and firing at the first Chihuahua in sight. These people are hot. And listen, and then there's a couple. Listen, there's a couple of gems in that coal mine. There's a couple of diamonds in that coal mine. And I am not spitting on them. I have seen videos. If I had to go procure them, I could pick two instances. Now, I don't know how they started, but I know how they ended. The one ended because the cop, fully armed, kept walking backwards, gave up ground instead of giving gunfire, and the guy gave up and laid down. And I saw another cop do it, and the guy charged him with a knife, and the cop shot him 4 times and then stopped. And then the guy ran after one of the other cops, got a hold of him with, you know what I mean? And then the cop shot him again and killed him. Neither one of these guys has any real fucking problems in life. They've showed more restraint than they were required to by law, but they showed exactly the amount of restraint required in both cases, regardless of whether or not the guy died. And these piss boys use this qualified immunity for not knowing their job as an excuse to just not be the thing that has to give up ground. I'm not the thing that gives up ground. I'm the thing that's immune. Okay, let's get all the Flintstone cops into the Stone Age where they belong, and we'll get a bunch of Jetsons. We'll get a bunch of Jetsons on watch. People who have no problem with carrying a pistol, and this whole, the laws of the state of Texas, there's not even any people in Texas who like those things. Everybody in Texas argues with a couple of people in Austin about the gun laws instead of just ignoring them and shooting anyone who has a problem with it. But that, again, that's a real problem. It really requires more of an educational jump than a firefight. It's really more about not doing this the hard way, but some people are going to insist. So I'm okay with doing things as far as we can with the educational thing, but it's very, very, very much time that all of these systems found the reason in a budget, because you can afford this cop who's absolutely a goddamn menace and doesn't really know his job to do what? Because it's funded by a bunch of people who don't necessarily get to approve or not approve of his performance. So when you get that kind of control over somebody, you'll get a bunch of polite cops, and you will get cops who will shoot people if necessary, but they'll know how to behave.
Well, the ones that know how to behave and show restraint and behave better, behave the way that a normal civilized human being would, their lives are going to be so much safer than these guys that are being lunatics. And so I try to explain to people, and it pisses them off, and I don't understand. I'm saying, I'm trying to protect these guys. I'm trying to keep them from dying.
Listen, brother, those guys who are in the system right now who are actually doing it right, they are exposing themselves to legal and physical liability, not to mention the fact that they walk in this manner makes the other cops look bad. Some of them will just do shit to that guy just because, okay? So when I tell you the system is fucking rotten to the core and unionized out the ass, that's what it is. So there's a couple of diamonds in the coal mine, and they ain't gonna break. I know those fucking assholes. I love them. I drink with those things all the time. I miss those things. I mean, you hang out with a bunch of them in the military.
Sure.
We all do the same.
Right.
Yes, we are going to go. Yes, somebody's going to shoot at us. Big deal. That's what the body armor is for. I'm not saying it's that nonchalant,
Right.
but if you are on reflexively shooting Chihuahua duty, you should have been an accountant.
Yeah.
You should have
Right.
grocery
Yeah.
store. That thing is a piss boy who needs to go home and learn the job instead of pretending this is okay. And the real problem here again is the other cops don't clean it up.
Correct.
But really, that one diamond, that he's a diamond in a coal mine. It's a coal mine, so you can't expect the coal mine to clean itself up. We need cleaner and greener.
Right.
So no more coal mine is what we need.
Yeah, and
education. It's not a firefight.
Yeah,
so,
that is what frustrates me, because it's, you always hear the excuse of, it's a really tough job and they got to put up with all sorts of garbage. Well, my job's not easy either. And if I started, swinging punches in meetings and throwing fits and doing not even shooting someone, just being aggressive, I'd be fired right away.
A trained guy with a firearm is allowed to murder because he's feared for his life in reflexive amounts of time, but the person who's about to get murdered is not allowed to resist. Give me a fucking break. The cops are piss boys. They don't know how to do their fucking job. I'm not going to pretend anymore, to the tune of I'm getting ready to start training for goddamn free. I'm getting ready to start. If you want to go on the internet, you can look up Dale Murphy. It's a threat management center up in Detroit.
Yep.
Yep. Oh
Yep.
yeah.
This guy, he trains. You know what he's training, right? He doesn't come out and say it. He's training fucking killers. Okay. He's training human beings who will walk right up to you, full well knowing they don't have a pistol on them and they don't fucking care. Okay. They don't care. He's not training a bunch of fucking nice guys. He's training human beings who know how to break your bones with their hands. And then some of them have knives on them. And then maybe some of them might have a pistol. But he's not training a bunch of fucking nice guys that will shoot you and your dog. He's training a bunch of people who are so not afraid of you that they'll stand right next to you when you're fully armed and waving a knife and ask you politely to put it down or they're going to have to break a sweat. Okay? And that's the real standard. Go look at your cops. They're so fat that they can't mend. Now, some of them are beefcake. We ain't swinging at beefcake. We ain't swinging at beefcake.
Hey, you don't have to look that hard to find a fat one, though.
But look, yes, exactly. So now, let's not. Now, I know I'm a little Sergeant Gebert, but listen. Never mind cleaning up the fucking corruption. These assholes can't get each other to PT properly. Now, the fat one is supposed to come and give the strong one backup, and it's blatantly obvious that he's not. But the strong one isn't trained well enough to say, hey, piss boy, you need to hit the elliptical because if I need backup, I'm not waiting for you to show up with a fucking coronary in hand. Right? Right. They're not even trained to that level. This is piss boy. God damn it. I look at cops and it looks like a teenage locker room. That's what it looks like, an armed teenage locker room. I expect this from 19-year-old privates. That's what I expect. And these are the people running around with qualified immunity. You got to be shitting me. So really, I've been frustrated with this whole thing for a while. And if you don't have a solution, you're just bitching, right?
Right. So one thing that I'm sure you would get pushback on that we do all the time when we talk about market-based solutions, we talk about the Detroit threat management system. People always say, well, you need cops, you need protection. How does your system do that? If the cops we have are so bad, what do we do? Like, what is the solution? How do you opt in?
Well, so we'll rip that apart piece by piece. How are the cops that you have now protection? That doesn't
they're not. I mean, I would say they're not.
Right, exactly. So for starters, I would say anyone who's calling this protection is unqualified to gauge that activity on a childlike level, because the errors that are being made, they're not some procedural shit where dude man got a little rough and broke somebody's arm. You know, it was a struggle. Dude man got rough and broke dude's arm. No. We're not talking about this kind of bullshit. So because the laws are written the way they are, you basically have to make a cop immune. So I'm not really hating that much. I'm hating. Don't get me wrong, I'm hating. But when you look at, they are untrained and they don't have to. When you pay somebody to not understand, they won't. Well, these people are paid in violent actions that don't result in harm to them.
Right.
That's what they're paid in. And I don't know if anybody knows this. That's kind of fun. It's like getting to hit someone for an open field tackle. Like you go put on pads and they don't put on pads because you're a cop. And you run and you hit them and they're standing still and you run 30 yards and slam into them as hard as you want for free. And then there's no ramifications to that. It wasn't a game. You just got to cream some human for funsies. Now, I understand that same scenario could very much come down into guarding your life. The problem is if the law is so terrible that both of those scenarios could yield that cop going to jail, then once again, the law was written by piss boys. Okay?
Right.
So at a certain point, all of the adults have to stop saying it is acceptable that a public domain, anything that you and I would consider public is okay, but it's okay that the piss boys will be in charge and then they will do whatever they want. And then we will be able to fund them whether or not we want to. Anybody who thinks that's a good idea, we don't ever have to talk with them again. We could pick them up and move them to the border of this country and drop them off. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody wants their laws to hurt people improperly. The left thinks the laws are supposed to be in one way. The right thinks they're supposed to be one way. But everybody is in unilateral agreement. Nobody wants cops like we have.
Right.
But you get cops like we have, not from having a bunch of fucking lunatics with guns. You don't get that. You get that from having legal system that is
Incentive
so
structure.
inept.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so inept. And listen, the people are in the legal structure; they're born to it, and they don't even they don't expect better. You talk to these people and they'll shrug it off like, "Oh, well, it's the system. I'll just have to die to it Thursday because that's how it works now." Like, wait a minute. Aren't you supposed to really care a little more than if there's a system, why do you have to pay for it? And how does it behave like this? And if you can't get that much out of people, okay, I understand. But now they're just paying for something that hurts people and they don't care. Man, like at what point can you get someone to care that it's really simple to not do this anymore? I don't know. I'm at a loss.
Yeah, I mean, maybe when they get the money taken out of them more directly, because that's, I mean, circling back to what we were talking about before, how the government can just inflate the money supply. So, Slappy, I don't know if you had any more questions on
go
that
ahead.
topic. Okay, because I wanted to circle back all the way kind of the beginning, talking about Libra. Slappy and I were big fans of Bitcoin, so wanted to talk about why Libra. Because Bitcoin's been around for 10 years, it's gaining steam and everything. So Bitcoin versus Libra, especially with the government talking a lot about trying to regulate Libra, whether it's, you mentioned before that the U.S. government would not be able to do it since they're in Europe, but just any government.
Exactly.
So yeah, why Libra? Why not Bitcoin?
Okay, so no, none of that, man. You're spot on. None of that. It's not a matter of Libra versus Bitcoin. It's kind of a matter of marketing. The problem here is that there are systems that function in the same way that a government does. Okay, you have a currency exchange, and you have currency, and then you have means of exchange of that currency, and then you have regulations that monitor that currency that you and I would call laws. This is most of our lives, right? Everything that's not transactional beyond this, it kind of looks like crime. Like a lot of our lives is fundamentally pushed around in the dollar, and then maybe people get stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
But almost every transaction, like the way you and I don't get each other's germs on each other is we just pass the dirty money around. But you and I don't have a lot of it. Like that's just how it works between people everywhere. So Libra offers this structure that can fundamentally replace the dollar. Let me rephrase. It's a structure that is of this type could replace the dollar. So that's why Bitcoin and all of the other blockchain systems become relevant. And because you have a legal system for the crime stuff, it gets very difficult to say we could put that also online. But it's very easy to say that all of our banking is going to be done online. Everybody gets that.
If I understand you, what essentially what you're saying is like we have Bitcoin, we have Libra, and this shows another way that we didn't even think was possible 15 years ago. And so we should start thinking about other ways that, 15 years ago would not have, or 20 years ago, whatever, would not have been possible, that are possible today with the technology we have. And Libra and Bitcoin are showing us that technology is here.
Not just showing us that it's here, showing us that the minute it shows up, it is going to offer billions of people who are not Americans a civil adjudication system outside of the dollar. Okay. All of these systems are already in place. There is stuff, it's not as loud as Libra, but it's already there. So literally people, I told you guys for a show, people kept telling me I'm crazy for 2 years. The systems that I'm talking about that could disintermediate the entire federal government, most of it. I keep defense on as my everything except defense. Almost all of that, if not all of that, can be done tomorrow. Those systems are already alive. Are they up and ready for certain amounts of traffic? Some of them aren't, some of them are, depending upon the function. Big Venn diagram. Don't call me a liar. I'm giving you general information, but that's what it is. So these systems are already functionally in place, and they are not owned by anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I'm certain. I go to a meetup in Austin, and there are several crypto groups in there. One of them is Factum. So the leaders, if you go online and look for the Factum token, that company is in Austin. Well, one of the other ones is Decred. Now, Decred is an autonomous currency. It is based out of no country. It is based on a bunch of servers all over the globe. The governance structure to this coin is inherent. You don't get to change it. You get to choose it or not choose it. But if you like the way it works, you get to choose pretty much what you want. So it's very easy to isolate the dollar now. And it's also easy for individual states to secede. As a state, they could secede from the union, rip their deed right off and put all of their deeds on a blockchain. And I thought of something the other day. If you imagine a deeding system that was done on a blockchain where it had to go peer to peer, right? And you understand that's private keys and stuff like that. What does a warlord get? Nothing. A warlord gets nothing, and reparations go to the people who get the keys 1, 2, 5 generations later. The warlord gets nothing. They own that land, but in the talk I did with Bob, we get into the economics of war. Ho Chi Minh was very mouthy with the American military because he knew he could outlast them. He knew it. Right. He knew it. There was never a day when the American military was in Vietnam where whoever was in charge of it wasn't a moron, because Ho Chi Minh knew every single hour of every single day that he couldn't be beaten. He would just go underground like a bunch of rats, and they would live in a slightly lesser living condition than people living in the jungle in the 70s were already living, and they would just tunnel their way to victory. He knew it. So when I say the systems that we have, they absolutely have to function, the second law of thermodynamics will treat us all like Ho Chi Minh. We will work harder for nothing, or we will work harder against ourselves if we are not in control of certain systems. So because they exist, people have to start thinking of how a legal system and a currency system and humans interact with each other. And it's a very complicated thing. I understand. It blows people's minds. It blew my mind for a while.
It's funny. It reminds me of a book I read a while ago, Nomadology. It's by 2 French philosophers or something. I was watching a video with Cody Wilson talking, and he mentioned it was a book he liked, and it was just about kind of nomads throughout history that they just kind of picked tools from the environment as they were moving through time and space to continue their civilization and fight against where they had to fight against. And it's kind of exactly what you're talking about here. I mean, technology pops up and we say, ooh, this is useful. And maybe it was going to be used for this, but we can apply it here. And I think that transition can happen pretty smoothly. It looks like we're so far away, but look at something like Uber, where when Uber first came out, you had everyone and their mother saying, I would never get into an Uber car like that. I don't trust it. And the government's got their taxi tokens. And then out of nowhere, all of a sudden, no one remembers what it was like before Uber.
You know why? Because the media campaign was telling you that the new decentralized technology that you were about to be exposed to was dangerous and a lie. And everybody bought the bullshit. Mm-hmm. That's why. Again, it was just a manipulation of people's perception, and every day that you were manipulated, that's what it was. We were told when we were children, when you don't get in a car with strangers. Now we pay for the privilege. Because the reality is the humans are so docile. Like, we were all brought in this survival of the fittest mentality. And again, I'm not even pointing fingers. Up until 2008, I would not have known any other way than if you can't beat them, join them, just to beat them. Like, you don't want to be a lunatic. You don't want to be a Saddam Hussein that will just wipe out a bunch of people. But if you can't deal with it, you could keep it on a leash. You could direct its face at something that you don't give a shit about. That, like, literally, that's the world we were living in 86 and in 96 and in 2006, because that's the technology and that's the way it was. So I wouldn't be sitting here getting mouthy about libertarian philosophy. I would still be saying, yes, we should definitely abolish certain systems because they are objectively stupid. But I would not have had anything past a minimalist constitutionalist argument. But then I figured out, but Uber, honestly, that was the participation event where I said we'd be better off to deal with free riders with defense and say, we will do it by subscription through certain types of homeowners insurance. Certain homeowners insurance will be the defenders. They'll be proud. You'll get to put a sign on your house and shit. Like the kind of stuff that doesn't matter to me. but the kind of stuff that matters to somebody.
Yeah, but people would pay. Yeah, people would do that.
And then I'm proudly part of this homeowners association. We support defense, and then defense will get funded, but it'll get funded sanely, and it'll get funded with all the technology that we know is available, not what's hidden from us. That's obviously hidden from us.
Mm-hmm.
So, it really does work out when everyone, everybody seems to, when you talk to people about politics, they pretend they're, indiscriminate masters of fucking philosophy and how they understand foreign policy and abortion and domestic policy as if it's not foreign policy just not at home.
Right.
Like they don't domestic policy is what foreign policy is supposed to be somewhere else. Foreign policy is exactly what it is at home now. The government treats everybody like we're all in Iraq, and they shoot your pets if it like seriously, it's all kind of getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
So looking for ways around how does this actually function, you find out that the politicians don't know what they're talking about because nobody did. Honestly, Bernie Sanders was an honest politician until Bitcoin came out. Then he was behind the times. Then I'm not saying he's lying. Then I'm saying he's behind the times. If he was as goddamn good at his job as he says he is, he would have figured out how to tell everybody how to do socialism in 2009 after Bitcoin came out because he knew how it worked, except he doesn't. That's why he didn't, because he doesn't know how. But for all the socialists in the world, you have to solve the coordination problem. If all of the socialists really believe in socialism, they will do all of their labor and they will price all of their goods in a cryptocurrency, and they will all pile into the same one. And you dirty capitalists will not be able to buy things in your bullshit currency. You have to buy the one true coin of socialism. And they could coordinate all of their efforts through one currency in the same way that the dollar is used to control everybody, like the tail wagging the dog. If the socialists really understood socialism, all they'd have to do is grab onto a cryptocurrency, pour all of their economic activity into it, and only trade in that coin. So it's basically you use currency as a discipline. And you say, this will be our ethics. This will be our societal ethics traded in this coin. And yes, we trade with 2 or 3 other coins, but we don't trade with those coins because those fuckers do this. So it doesn't really become a geographic, Russia is Russia, and whenever they're a problem, we get to yell Russians. It's, I bumped into a Russian today. He tried to give me the Russian coin. I told him no. But you wouldn't really care. I mean, you would think, yes, okay, the Vladimir Putin, imagine the worst regime in the world uses this one coin. You get to refuse the one coin. You don't get to fund the one regime anymore. So socialists can coordinate socialism the world over by choosing a coin. But they would have to solve which coin it would be. And you'd find the capitalists coming out of the socialists in the woodwork because they're all going to want the coin that they own already. They're going to want the coin that they already have 50,000 of and everybody's going to dump it into. So then you'll watch the capitalism come right out of the socialists. Now in socialist currency wars, we find out who's holding what and who wants to pump what coin. So then you get Bernie Sanders right by the balls because that's what he does. He pumps his own coin, which is his own stock, really. But
So do you think in that situation that talking about the currency wars like that, just because of the different values on things, that you would kind of converge in your society, whether that's one geographical region or the entire world at this point, since we're all connected by the internet and thing? Like, what do you think? Where do you think that goes? Because there's going to be opportunities to make a little bit money by trading across it, and if you're having it through some sort of voluntary exchange, even the socialists are voluntary exchanging in their currency, that there's going to be, a balance, and one's going to be driven to more value and the other ones are going to be driven to less value.
I'm going to tell you about a place near and dear to my heart called Mos Eisley Spaceport, the wretched hive of scum and villainy. But you know what's going to go on? Currency exchange. Because the Huts are gangsters. That's why. So no matter who thinks they're only going to trade the one true coin, someone on the secret is going to go sell the one true coin, because if it starts to pump, somebody's going to cash in. And you know what? It's not evil. It's not evil. When I say capitalism, I say somebody has money. They go and they plant the money and they raise it like a crop. and then they harvest the money. That is all. This is retirement. Now, I understand that because it's currency, you could turn that into a predatory process. But the process of growing your own retirement is not inherently evil. It just has fraud surfaces. Well, that's what, as soon as you're told that you're not supposed to work 9 to 5, that you're not supposed to work the 40-hour week, that you're not supposed to save for your future, that the government is going to help when you're in Social Security and you get older, and that if you can't afford it, somebody else will pay for you. Well, guess what? You're living in fantasy camp, because if we all ran out of money, then nobody has anything. It doesn't work like that. You generate wealth, I generate wealth. Everybody's generating a little. And then we don't keep it. We turn it into currency. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We turn our actual time into currency, and then we trade it around. Well, you don't want to get defrauded in that time that you spend. That is what the dollar does. That's why it's being challenged. It's one of the reasons people don't like it.
Yep.
So we're going to live in these technological times. The end. If you want to talk about crypto, the stuff that's on Coinbase is what billions of people are going to have access to buy. Those coins are going to pump through lack of options.
Right.
Somebody's going to buy those coins because the other ones, whenever they go to buy them, the other ones are going to be too expensive. Bitcoin is $11,000. Litecoin is $100. Decred is $30. Basic attention token is 25 cents. Syscoin is 4 cents. Does it matter? Everybody has to do their own research. Everybody has to figure out how they're going to preserve their own wealth. But I really think we're going to live through the fiat apocalypse, where everybody on earth is starting to figure out the game of fiat money. It's not that fiat money is inherently bad. It's that because it can be abused in so many ways, that it's really not a good system. So just as normal, like humies, this isn't libertarian bullshit. As normal humies, we're just going to want to get rid of certain systems, especially when it comes to financial fraud. And the blockchain is tailor-made for it, except it moves slow. Well, now there's ones that go fast.
Well, that's
60,000 transactions per second. So what I'm saying is the fast ones, they're on their way.
Yeah, well, the real technological advancement that Satoshi Nakamoto made when he first started was they created digital scarcity, and right there, boom, there's the ability to create a money that is basically the hardest thing that we've ever seen. So
no, it's not even digital scarcity. It was solving the Byzantine generals' problem.
Well, that's part of the
factor. To be honest, man, the scarcity factor varies. It depends on the productivity of any particular. Americans were so productive for 50 years that they experienced 97% inflation of their currency, and almost nobody starved. Right. Everybody's lives got better. So when I tell you the government ripped everybody off, 97%. And when I say ripped off, some of the things were spent on roads. Okay, some of those dollars, but every dollar that was wasted was fundamentally work that everybody did that just got pissed away.
Yep.
So, here's the thing. It got pissed away to somebody who, if you can imagine currency being like our dead ancestors' energy, where you and I are going to work for our own energy. But what we pass around is the energy of our dead ancestors, right? So one of the good things about the inflation of the dollar is that not one shred of work has been wasted. Not one. It is completely contained in this bullshit fiat system because the actual fiat is starting to devalue against human labor. So the good news is we have captured every time somebody lifted up a box and made a nickel since dollars started getting printed, we captured all that human energy. And we're now passing it around in the form of trillions of dollars. So as we pour this fiat into these blockchain systems, think of it like actual, real human value at an exchange rate. Dollars will buy something, pounds will buy something. Yen has a real low exchange rate against the dollar. So I'm saying it's real human energy that will be dumped into a finite system, and it will be captured, and it will not be allowed to be passed around and diluted like it was in the dollar. Mm-hmm. So Listen, this is species changing bullshit. The people who have been ripping everybody off because first they learned how to take your life, and then they learned how to take your home, and then they learned how to take your deed even though you were living in your home. And then they learned how to take your money, and then they learned how to take the value out of your fucking money. Well, guess what? They're out.
Yep.
They're out of bullshit now.
Amen.
So the value that we're all going to dump into crypto is going to stay there. And we're going to pass it around in a system that can't inflate without reason. Bitcoin doesn't get any more. Some of those systems are completely finite. Finite systems, you're certain they're not going to hyperinflate. I mean, they could be broken, but Litecoin isn't broken. It's been a couple of years now. All of the attacks, all of the shaking out of the system. Litecoin is fundamentally, it's a fork of Bitcoin. It just goes faster. So I think Bitcoin hype is a little ridiculous. It's a prototype that barely fucking works. And the governance and the costs that surround it are so stupid and unnecessary that Bitcoin was totally necessary as an invention. But going forward, I'm glad that it will survive as like grandpa on the Lightning Network. But beyond that, you just don't need. There's only 21 million Bitcoins. So while we have this digital scarcity, seriously, are 7 billion people going to pass around 21 million Bitcoins? No, there's other systems. So I think the relative value of USD, I think Bitcoin is probably going to come down just because as these other systems start spooling up, there's no reason to not use another one that's cheaper. There's just no reason. It's cheaper, faster. Some of them are more decentralized than Bitcoin. Some of them have privacy features. It's all coming, and it's good. But we have to understand, like, listen, you have to understand, you have to be a Jetson to do this. It's a little bit of education, and it's free. I made it fucking free, literally, because it just seems stupid.
Yeah, well,
for a book like this.
I'll take the other side of that bet on Bitcoin.
No, I'm not saying
that's
not going places. I'm saying
right.
Think about it like this. We're looking at a massive slide in fiat based on where the Federal Reserve is going with interest rates, where all of the monetary policy on the planet is going to include trade wars. We're going to start seeing fiat just become worth less and less against a system that doesn't have these facets.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I think you're right.
Now, you might wait a year, you might wait 5 years, you might wait 10 years, but that fiat system is garbage. Nobody wants it.
Right.
The bankers who deal with money every day, they don't like it. The only reason they don't like blockchains isn't because the bankers like the fiat. They like it in the way it works for them.
Mm-hmm.
But because everybody has their own private keys in a blockchain system, you don't really need a bank. And that's kind of, sorry, I have to warn everybody. Christ.
Yep.
Listen, all of these regulators, they are not coming up with custody solutions, okay? They are finding ways to make a regulatory state that says your broker's going to have your private keys and they're going to have keys to your broker's office, okay? They are only trying to regulate their way in. Very, very few people need a custody solution, and if they do, it looks like a multi-signature wallet. It doesn't look like a government regulation. Again, these people are fudding down everyone, pretending. And it's not just them. If you think that the journalists that are in front of them asking questions, let me ask the question to Senator Umpty Scrunch for 5 minutes, because he's not going to answer those questions. He knows that there's no reason for a custody solution. And the reason is this: there's one service that I already know of. It's called Coinigy. I can put Bitcoin into a Bittrex account, and then I could give you you could have a Coinigy account, and we can exchange information through an API key. I can whitelist all of my addresses. So if you send money off of that platform, it will go to my address. It won't go to yours. So you, as my trader, would be performing a function for me. You don't need a custody solution. So objectively and unequivocally, any dickhead telling you need a custody solution is a lying motherfucker, and call him one right to his face. Because the only people who are ever going to use the phrase custody solution in reference to crypto are lying motherfuckers. They're traders who are pretending they need that shit. They don't. They can use Coinigy, and it's politicians pretending you need that shit so that they can get at your shit. So, and another thing, Everybody's got to stand up for themselves. Don't be afraid to call a politician a lying motherfucker. If you think it's rude, you're right. It's rude. That goddamn public servant better start remembering who he works for. So, yes, we're going to start asking some real pointed questions. I'm going to start training carnivores down in Texas, whether the fucking cops like it or not. So,
I like that idea.
As far as the things that are going to happen to change the system, I'm absolutely certain. I'm going to raise things that aren't afraid of cops. I know how to do it. My name's Sergeant Gebert. That's what I did in the Army. I have previous work. We could call them.
So I think I'm understanding. It's interesting. I listened to you on Bob Murphy's show. I listened to you on Pete Raymond's show. And
Which
now
we'll link them.
Yeah, we'll link them. They especially on Bob's. There's a lot of good backstory for your history. But it's funny because I wasn't quite understanding it. But now in this conversation, it's like, oh wait, he's saying exactly what I've been thinking for a while. It's just that how do you opt into this stuff? Well, it's just the technology. People create technology because they have a profit incentive to do it, and it's just better than what's there. So that's how you opt in. It's a natural, even just call it passive thing because people aren't directly rejecting the state. They're just getting a better solution, and they're going to just reject it because they're going to say, well, why am I giving up this better life I have now?
Right. So here's where you got to learn to literally be a professional insurgent to do the things that you want to do. Because that's bullshit. You as a human being should not have to learn to become a professional insurgent to do the shit you want to do.
Right. I
wanted to contract my book out so that I could sell it, so that I could make money. However, I was going to keep my end of it. I have to look at the total cost of a book. I can't say my book is free and I'm going to print all of the paper. I don't have the paper. Paper costs money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I want this in a hardcover, but that comes with a cost. Okay, I would have dealt with the cost, man. However, I would have had to get in bed with a publisher who could put $30,000 in my lap and take my book and shelf it forever because of intellectual property.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I've now had to become a legal insurgent to figure out how the fuck am I going to do this without somehow making sure that some Harvard lawyer doesn't shelf my material. That's where I was at with this. So I had put cryptocurrency addresses in the book so that you could fund me to go build software. And guess what? If I was to take the money from the publisher and he was the most libertarian fuck I could find, if it was John McAfee Publishing and he was going to burn the building down before he gave up my secrets, it doesn't matter because if I'm paid in US dollars, they got another facet on me. So I use crypto in the book, right?
Great.
You get so far ahead of these slimy pricks to stay away from their legal goddamn nonsense that you have to give your book away. You have to train people for free, or you have to trade in dollars, or you have to find some other way. And honestly, that's where we're at. We must find other ways. And because they're here and they're advantageous to everyone, it doesn't even make any sense to not do it. But it is a radical change. It goes right to the root of the cause. The law is the problem. And people don't know what good laws are supposed to look like because they don't write their own. They don't know. But if they did write laws, they would really quickly find out what, let's call it democracy. I don't like the word, but let's call it democracy. When you get a huge pile of votes for one law and not for another one, you're part of a minority for a reason. Maybe you're a goddamn genius on the forefront of everything. I don't know. But then you will have to market it. The good thing is if you're a genius and you're ahead of everybody, you get to be in your own legal system where that whole aggregated nonsense, it's not part of you. As long as they're not such a Flintstone that they're going to invade Jetson land. And if we got that problem, we got a whole other problem. But that's not a problem because killing cavemen is easy. So again, it's not really a problem. It's more figuring out, do we have a tyrannical government that plans on doing this to us? Or are they going to, or can we just mouth off correctly where we're going to reorganize this? We have to find out what problem we have. And I'm almost 100% positive it's the second one. Everybody needs to learn to mouth off for themselves. They need to figure out why they're supposed to be their own senator. They need to keep Donnie's legal bullshit out of their life until they've had a good, hard, hot look over it. And then they say, oh, yeah, he's one of us. We're good. Or not. But if you get a big pile of Flintstones in the same system, they don't really have the chance to squash you. They don't get eminent domain over you. They don't get the right to tax. They get to aggregate their money and call you names. Okay, you get to aggregate your money and call them names. And we'll see who figures out how to do it better. That's civil. All warfare is based on deception, and politics is warfare by other means. So you can pretend that second statement is my opinion. I will demonstrate it in every single way that you think we have a political problem. No, we don't. We have an agency problem or a coordination problem. You keep your agency for you, I keep my agency for me, and we coordinate. If we have to coordinate in a manner where both of us lose our agency, we're just suckers. We're suckers, part of the Ponzi, and we didn't lose money in this Ponzi. We lost our agency, and we lost it to the lawyers. We lost it to the politicians who wrote laws for us, and they're not any better at it than you are. And that whoever you, I don't mean you two, I mean whoever the hell is listening.
Right.
If you think the politicians are better at writing laws than any other individual, I swear to Christ, I could go find 3 homeless guys that could do it better. I swear.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to show up with like one of those ridiculous camera crews, and we could find 3 homeless folks? I'll do that. I will take you to. Yep, I'll take you around Austin.
That would actually be pretty interesting. So, did we miss anything? Is there anything else you wanted to talk about, bring up?
The website is, wow, the null hypothesis of politics.com. And it's free on Nook. It's 99 cents on Amazon. Again, these are different systems and they have different ways of doing things. So Jeff Bezos says, you can't put books for free on my platform. You must charge some kind of surcharge. He shares the surcharge with me, but it doesn't matter. It's 99 cents. Nook allows it for free. So if you think Amazon is a better system, you shouldn't vote the Nook people out of existence. You just use Amazon. And that's kind of how this system works. Maybe some people are going to pay a little more for their services. Maybe they get better services. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just stop paying extra and they go get the regular. We're all getting a better legal system when Andrew Napolitano writes one layer. And I used to say Alan Dershowitz, but apparently he may be involved with something. I don't think it was too unsavory. He's a little belligerent about saying either he's a pathological liar and he's going all out hard, or he's fine. Like either way, but Alan Dershowitz has been a guy who knows the law. And everyone says, yeah, but it's American law and it's bullshit. Listen, up until Bitcoin was invented, I don't care who thinks they know better. This was not solvable by any one people. And because it wasn't solvable by one person or one group of people, you were going to have arguments because you were going to have division. The end. And that division didn't even have to be personal and animus or anything. It could have been sheer ignorance. How many warriors have killed each other over ignorance, and how many have sat down and shared a meal while the kings were arguing and canceled out wars? There's this soup. It's made out like milk and bread, and I forget if they call it the war soup or something like that. But basically, the nobles were arguing over how the battle was going to or not having to take place. All the warriors sat down, had meals together, and canceled the war. So that's what we really need to do. The left and the right are both equally dumb. We need to recruit them because we're all dumb. We're all dumb in the reference of nobody knows how to be a Jetson, because as of 2008, there were 0 Jetsons on this planet. So we've had historical arguments. We've had educational arguments. We've had, okay, here's one. Nobody fucking knew in your lifetime. Now make an argument that someone wasn't trying from best intentions. You can't. It's not possible. Unless you find a pile of dead bodies, you cannot demonstrate that anyone before 2008 had ill will. Unless you have a pile of bodies or literally, they could have been bullshitting and nonsense. But now, ... Now we have abilities that we didn't have before, and having the ability without the understanding of how to use it, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. So to prevent it, it's a free book. To make sure it couldn't be stopped, it's a free book. To make sure that I can't get interrupted to get paid, it's a free book. And then if I find a bunch of crypto in there, I will be able to pay some coders and I will be able to put some more software into being, or I'm sorry, some software. The book, I had to do a lot of stuff just to get it to not. There was adventures in software just getting the book done. So
I'm sure.
it felt like it.
After our last recording and the past couple of weeks with podcast feed issues, I understand.
So everybody has to learn to be their own senator. It's a thing now. I know that sounds weird. Great. Go ahead and think I'm crazy. Doesn't matter. Welcome to Earth circa 2019. You're 11 years behind the power curve. I'm pretty good at this, and I was 9 years behind the power curve. Bernie Sanders says he's really good, still hasn't caught up yet. AOC, not even in the running. Not even. He doesn't even know what Bernie knows.
Well,
I mean, if I got to choose Bernie or AOC, I'll take Bernie.
go with Bernie, right?
I'll take AOC if I don't want to look at Bernie.
Yeah, there you go.
Bernie if I actually need somebody who has a Rolodex that's useful.
Yeah, I mean, and hey, that's what politics is, isn't it? The
And listen,
Rolodex, the useful Rolodex.
it was always fun to make as much harmful, malicious, we would burn him in effigy fun with your favorite politician. Great. I don't care. As of 2008, they all have to be forgiven, except for the ones with the bodies. Except for those ones. That's even worse. Man, you want to talk about insult to injury? The human species was so stupid we needed politicians. Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Man, we are just coming out of the dark ages right now.
Right.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. I'd love to have it. I'd love to have a time machine to go to the time and place where there's no state and politicians and see what they think about us today.
Yeah, no, dude. This is the worst part. Like when I had literally, I was tracking this all the way. I tracked this from Iraq. I was literally on the second to last plane that left Iraq. There were double-digit human American servicemen. There were 2 digits worth left, low 2 digits when I left. I was on the last full plane out, and I was under the impression that war was over.
Mm-hmm.
And then they pulled the rug out from underneath me when I went back. And I'm like, wait a minute. How in the fuck did that not end? So I started going from where I was on it, where I found out it didn't end, and I had to track it all the way back to Article 1, Section 8. I shit you not. David Petraeus deals with a bottomless budget. A bottomless budget is a bias. In and of itself, that thing in and of itself causes gold plating and muda that doesn't need to be there. And if the gold plating and muda becomes antithetical to the mission, then you blow the mission because of your extra stuff that you didn't need. And that's exactly what extra casualties on the battlefield are.
Mm-hmm.
You can't send a bunch of guys. You can't send $5 million soldiers into a house to get $30,000 insurgents out of there. And you full well know you're going to lose some people. That's how bullets work. So when you drop the JDAM on that house, you saved money in lives, but you took a bunch of lives that you couldn't afford because now the mission is shot. And there's no way to get around it. When you're trying to make functionally, they're trying to make American domestic legal policy function to as far as they need it to in Iraq. You're trying to get American property law functioning there, basically, so that we could do that's what it is.
Right.
You're trying to functionally get that system to work on American property law to make those assets that we purchased over there safe.
Yeah.
Like,
how's that working out?
Hey, and I'll look you right in the face and say Norman Schwarzkopf was an absolute goddamn professional who did the whole fucking thing in a week and took everybody home. So when I tell you that your goddamn generals are incompetent, I'm making leave for David Petraeus, because there's no way I would have figured it out unless he had blown that.
Right.
Because everybody on the face of the earth knew that tactic was the playbook. So he didn't execute an incompetent playbook incompetently. He executed an impossible playbook as well as it could have been accomplished.
Right.
Okay. So, but even David Petraeus didn't know it was fucking impossible. But then again, the level of warfare we're engaging in looks an awful lot like the legal discussion we're engaging in. How the fuck was David Petraeus supposed to not know to end those lives? Nope. Couldn't imagine the whole thing coming unglued because of the collaterals. Couldn't imagine it. Okay, fair enough. And technically, it's not. Technically, it's coming apart because they didn't get rid of the insurgents. Well, they didn't get rid of the insurgents because they couldn't get rid of the collaterals. So it's kind of all of these enabling factors. And I listened to the other podcast I did with Bob, and it sounded like I was harsh on David Petraeus. Literally, had he not done that, I wouldn't know. So nobody fucking knows in a bunch of these things that we're doing on a macro level because nobody's ever fucking done them before because they've never been possible before.
Right.
So now we're trying to have this real intelligent discussion with a blast radius of, Jesus, it's like 500 meters. Like everything within 500 meters is dead or dying of a 2,000-pound bomb.
Wow.
The blast overpressure it's not just going to break the windows. It's the eardrums, it's the soft membrane, the fucking body. Okay? It's a very large thing. And hey, I'm Donnie. I don't give a shit. I will there are places in Afghanistan where every single child above the age of 6 has had sex. Okay? I'm terribly sorry to tell all the humans about this, but that whole population ain't ever coming out right.
No.
When you have adult human beings that rape their children, you're best to J-damn the whole goddamn village in place. That's terrible. I know that's terrible. And I don't know how they plan to save a bunch of raped 6-year-olds because nobody's going in there to save them right now. The only way I know, listen, every raped 6-year-old turns out to be working for Osama bin Laden, Boko Haram. Like every bad thing that you see comes out of these kinds of practices. And now you're looking at certain, like in Iraq, you don't necessarily have this problem. Okay, when you're dropping bombs in Iraq, you're dropping them in civilization. That's fucking dumb. And sometimes it's necessary because your mission is dumb. It's just because your mission is dumb. Getting insurgents out is usually easy when you can positively incentivize the population. Well, for what America sends on a war, Jesus Christ, we could have retired everyone in Iraq except the insurgents and then bombed what was left. We could have literally moved every single one of their asses to halfway decent housing in New Mexico. They wouldn't even know the difference. For how many trillions? How many?
Right. For how much money we spent?
So
Yeah.
literally, we could have set up a perimeter and it's told all the civilians with megaphones, if you are not a combatant, just leave your weapons, come out. You're going to live in Arizona for 5 years until we clean these fuckers up. Like, it sounds terrible. It sounds expensive. Okay, what happened was terrible and expensive and didn't look anything as orderly as not killing all those people.
Right.
And then you find out you get the Madeleine Albrights, man. Madeleine, 500,000 children dead. Well, we thought it was worth it. Who the fuck is we?
Yeah.
Does she have a lizard in her pocket or something? Who the fuck is we thinking that 500,000 children dead is a solution because they don't know how to do it any other way? It's almost like the politicians are a bunch of idiot assholes who have no idea what the warriors do for a living. But
Maybe
they think
so.
they're in control of it. So part of this is literally making sure that your defense structure isn't controlled by politicians again. I don't think Donald Trump is a bad thing for defense. I think the defense structure is a little out of hand, and they need to build me some flying cars instead of flying bombs. If you guys get a chance, there was a French parade for Bastille Day, and literally they had some fucker flying around like Boba Fett.
Seriously?
He had a sled about, I'm trying to see, where's my hands? He had a sled. Oh, okay. It was maybe about as wide as my shoulders, right? Maybe a little wider and about that thick. And he was flying around.
Is that the dude that just crossed the English Channel in a like a basically a jetpack?
I have. Oh no, the jetpack is a different thing. This guy was standing. You know those what do they call them? Like a scooter, the little scooter things.
Mm-hmm.
Where you step on them and
they just kind of go for it.
2 wheels and a handle, and they're automated.
Yeah, Segway.
Segway, right? A Segway. Okay, now take the handle off of it. Put the handle up your back as a back brace, and then control it with your feet. You know what I mean? With like your hips. And it looked like he was standing on a couple of really powerful engines that were giving him thrust up. And then he was kind of controlling it with his hips and his hands, but he was flying around like Boba Fett, not with a jetpack. So literally, I want to see the military-industrial complex making these things because
Imagine. The technology and the money.
listen, if for some reason America, let's make an assumption. Let's make an intelligent assumption instead of the bullshit that most people have to plod through. Let's allow the American military to just deal with pirates, and nobody messes with the American Navy anyway. So we're going to leave the Navy on patrol for pirates, and that's about it. And then everybody else, and I mean everybody else, every base, every fucking buddy comes home, and we just focus on defense. Would everybody have a problem putting money in a bucket for a run of cruise missiles? Hey, we need 100 cruise missiles because we don't have any anymore. Probably better to just do intelligent runs of those instead of pretending. I don't think it's necessarily bad to have our enemies know that we only have 5,000 cruise missiles lined up. I don't think it's that bad. I think if they want to go, if their plan is to come here and deal with us and 5,000 cruise missiles, that maybe we're asleep at the wheel and deserve to be wiped out like Flintstones, okay? Literally, that's never going to happen. It's such a ridiculous scenario, I can't even wrap my head around it. There's no way we're going to be asleep at the wheel as a population of 300 million. There's just no chance. There's just no chance. So we don't have to have these bottomless budgets and they appear to be bottomless budgets and they appear to be bottomless bunkers, but they're not. Everything is finite. So we're not going to pretend that more bullets are going to solve this problem because we've already proven that. More bullets are not going to solve this problem. And there's definitely better ways to do it. Bob Murphy teaches defense. Andrew Napolitano teaches law, and Walter Block teaches property law, specifically every way you could do it. Everybody in America needs to know Professor Walter Block's name. He works at Loyola University. And every time somebody thinks you need a government service or something, you have to remember, we're not talking about government shit. We're talking about providing an organizational method that's solvent. We don't have to destroy a currency system to provide for a social good. That's not a method of doing things properly. It's not that this stuff can't be done, but if your method of getting your funds is destroying a currency system, maybe you're an amateur and you don't know what you're doing. Because I'm certain that a professional could put that anything you think needs to be done. A budget can be put together, and that can be shown to you openly up front. All of these secrets in the bottomless budgets, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And as long as everyone's going to continue to pretend that your legal agency should belong to someone else, then you're going to live in a caveman system, and senators and congressmen are going to abuse the shit out of you for as long as you want to be a happy voter. That's literally all I got.
Nice. Well, then that's a good place to end it. Donnie, once again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, you certainly gave us a lot. And
we're not paying for your advertising. Anything. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, be sure to check out the book. We'll link to everything on the show notes page. This will probably be episode 157.
57?
Yeah, so we'll release this. This will be, I don't know, what's 6 days from now? The 14th?
Send me the link so I can put it on my website.
Absolutely.
There, so.
All right, that was Donnie Gebert. Thanks, Donnie, for coming on the show. And I guess we'll move on to our free market story. You got one?
Yeah, I do. This weekend, I think it was Saturday. It was Saturday. I was mowing the lawn, and I saw someone walking up my driveway to my front door, so I stopped and got off the lawn tractor. Not really a true tractor, but basically.
Did you tell this guest that you know, or ask if he knows you carry?
If I know what? If he knows what?
If he knows that you carry.
Oh, carry.
Hey, I carry, right? Or what's your saying?
That's my saying?
Yeah, the girl. Your that's girl.
Yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, well, it's on a mug.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Well, all right. Slappy's.
Sorry for knowing our inventory.
Yeah, no more trying to tell jokes, Slappy. That's my world. I'm the professional. But so I go see what he's up to, what he wants, and he's with a pest control company. And he said, "Hey, we're going around the neighborhood. We've already got a bunch of people in your area that are using our services. And so while we have our personnel and trucks out here, we're offering a discount to do our pest control services. So I've actually been wanting to bring in someone to do that, because I don't know if I've complained about it on the podcast or not. I'm pretty sure I have, but I get ants in my house thanks to Grum, and just the fact that it's a house in dirt, and it just absolutely drives me crazy. So I heard what he had to say, looked at his discount, saw the rates that they were, and said, it was a little bit pricey, but to me it was worth the price to know that I'm not going to have ants crawling around my house anymore. And they have their little guarantees and everything, so I felt comfortable doing it. And so they came right away later that night to do the first treatment. So, it's one of those things where you think door-to-door salesmen aren't gonna do any sales, and you just slam the door right in their face. But here's an example of, it was something that I wanted. I wasn't necessarily sure how to get it the best way prior to that, but him walking around the neighborhood, knocking on the doors, and offering a discount, ended up having him make a sale, and I'm a little bit better off because I don't have to deal with these stupid ants anymore. So,
yeah. Now I don't know if that's just the sales tactic they use to say, like, we're in the neighborhood, because I've gotten that on windows and
sure,
cutting down trees. I don't know if it is or not. But
I mean,
either way, it's a great idea, and
yeah.
They should, I would think, if I'm running a business that does residential stuff, if you have a job somewhere, you might as well ask all the neighbors. You have all your equipment there anyway.
Well,
give a deal.
That's what happens. I mean, that's what I do in my job. Is when we bring in a contractor and they got to bring in a lot of equipment, there's mobilization and demobilization costs that are associated with that. So if you get them in one shot to do a bunch of stuff, you can save a little bit of money. So it makes sense, whether or not it counts for much. I mean, they did offer me a discount based off their normal rate. So.
And they usually do, and it's usually, like, you can look it up, and they say something like you have to accept now to get the rates, which is kind of sounds like a high pressure type thing, but it makes sense. All their trucks are there, their equipment's there.
Yep.
So
the other thing was, it was funny because as I was mowing the lawn, I was listening to a Bitcoin podcast. I think it was Tales from the Crypt. Go check that out if you haven't heard it yet.
I thought you were going to say it was one of our episodes.
No. But it was funny. So I had that in my head, like, verify. So this guy's just like kind of walking up asking for my billing information. So I just said, hey, I went on my phone and said, hey, I'd like to, verify that you work for them. And he was,
how many confs?
Yeah. Yeah, I waited an hour to get the full 6 confirmations.
There you go.
So, but no, he was totally cool with that, understood it, and was fine, and everything checked out. And the guys came, obviously, so I did not get scammed.
Now, did he go in the house or just on the outside?
He was just on the outside.
Well, good. So he never saw Crispin then.
No. Although now I don't know what Crispin's going to eat now that there's no more ants in the house.
Oh.
But that's his problem, not mine. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty good. You had one. I think you had a free market success story about someone coming door to door. So
I probably have. I bought stuff door to door before.
Toasters.
Toasters. Yeah. No. It's tough work. I'm in sales. It's a lot of, and I've never done door to door sales. But I'm always polite to these people. I know, like, everyone likes to slam the door in their face, which is fine. It's part of being in sales. But I always give them the time. I let them do their pitch. And if I'm not going to buy, I tell them up front, don't waste your time. But feel free to practice. I don't care.
Yeah,
I know it's tough work.
Yeah, I mean, I went. I mean, he made the sale, so obviously it was a good success for him. But I walked up to him thinking, like, what do I got to? What does this guy want? And how can I chase him off my front lawn?
Oh, no, I did. No, so sorry to cut you off. But yeah, no, similar when you said that, it reminded me when I switched my cable company. I was coming up toward the end of my, your 2-year agreement anyway. And so I was going to try to call around, and you hear the knock at the door, and you always kind of roll your eyes. You're like, what's this guy want at 6:30? I know no one's knocking on my door. Anyone who's coming here just walks in. So, he had the deals to switch. I think it was to Comcast. Probably was with Fios. I don't know what it was, but I signed up there on the spot with him because it was a good deal, and I was looking for it anyway. So.
Yep. So yeah.
So that's that.
Yep, not bad. Seems kind of outdated and everything, but hey, sometimes it works. Sometimes putting the body in front of another body is an effective way.
Well, you find that all the time. People, if you go online, anyone in the sales world, you can Google, you can hear people say things like cold calling is dead. Nobody cold calls anymore. It's surprisingly effective. Maybe if you're doing what everyone else isn't. People get all the emails, and everyone says people like reading emails. They don't want to get phone calls. But then sometimes it's kind of nice to hear from a human. So you never know. All these things come and go.
And you just never know when you make a call who's in the market for what you're selling, because that's
exactly
9 times out of 10, or more than 9 times out of 10, whoever's calling me to sell me something, I'm just not interested in. But this was a problem that I wanted to solve.
Well, that's why they call it.
I had not been able to solve it. Yep.
Got to make 100 knocks will get you 5 sales or whatever the ratio is, and you just got to go find those people. So.
Yep. Similar to online sales. I mean, if you're trying to make sales on your website and you get 1% conversion rate, that's actually not that bad.
Yeah, it's also not as time if you're making 100 calls and making 1 sale, depending on what you're selling,
right.
That could get frustrating, and you got to try to work on that. But if you click a button, send an email, and 1% respond, that's not that works.
Yep. So again, remember. Speaking of sales and online things, go to libertymugs.com. We just added stickers, and we're going to be adding some other stuff soon. Waiting on a poll that's going on right now. Might be ending soon. I think that cell phone cases are in the lead for the next product that we'll put up there.
Put out there. One thing I want to mention, too, is our guest from a couple weeks ago, James Nixon. We're trying to help him out a little bit, get him on his feet, get a website up and running. He's got a lot of ideas and products he wants to sell, and he wants to do. Yeah, he wants to help kids in the streets, essentially where he came from, to not go down that path. He's in a tough spot right now. It's hard to get hired when you were in federal prison for 27 months, even though he was acquitted. So he's having a tough time. So we're gonna put a GoFundMe up, try to get some money to get him started, and see. He wants to be self-sufficient. He's not looking for a handout. He wants to be self-sufficient. He wants to get this going. He knows that if you give him some money, it's going to disappear, and he's going to need more money. He's trying to start a business and just needs something to get going. So we want to help him out a little bit. So look for that. We're going to be tweeting it out, and we'll probably talk about it on a future episode. And we may have James on again to tell some more stories of his life, and in this case in particular, because despite we have about 3 hours on it between me and him, there's a lot we left out, and it just gets crazier, including they just added another charge to the guys who are being retried, and a superseding charge, which it's very strange. It's called a phone charge. So I don't know the law. I didn't look it up, but apparently it's so they're charged with conspiracy. And I guess since we got 3 acquittals the first time, they're afraid they may get acquitted on conspiracy. So they added this phone charge, which I have to look into. But I believe it's essentially conducting business of something illegal over the phone. So, you can charge them for, if you can't get conspiracy, get them for talking on the phone. I mean, there's so many laws. It's absolutely absurd. And they're just going to throw whatever they can at these people to get them. And it's really a shame. And we talk about the criminal justice system and how corrupt and how just evil and brutal it is on people. And you can this case just exemplifies it. And this is just your run of the mill. This isn't in the news every day. People around Philadelphia aren't talking about this case. It's just your everyday kind of case. It's pretty sad. So we want to make sure people are aware of that. And we want to help James be a success story, a free market success story. Yeah. And get him on his feet and get him running, get him up in the middle class, because he's really having a tough run at it since he's gotten out of prison. So look for that. We'd appreciate, or I know James would greatly appreciate any help, even if it's only $1 you can donate to him. He would be very appreciative of that. So Look for that.
He's a good dude. And circle back to episode 155 if you haven't heard his story
Yeah,
yet.
Rollo has met him in person. We went out for dinner the other night.
Yeah.
He's got a good heart, and he's committed. He's committed to improving his life, his lot in
Absolutely.
life.
Yep.
And we just want to help him out as much as we can.
Alrighty. So, you got a full, after this episode and tacking this on the end, I think everyone's got a full plate.
Yeah,
So,
man.
Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Peace.